All I can remember is from the time I was 4 or 5 years old when anybody said, "What are you going to be when you grow up?" Because that's what everybody asked you, all adults. I would just say, "I'm going to be a nurse."
When I was 4, one of my sisters gave me a colouring book, and in the colouring book there was Nurse Nancy. So for me, I coloured her up proper, maybe in black and white, and I just always knew that I wanted to be a registered nurse.
Every day is interesting. Every day is a new challenge, it's a new template, no day repeats itself.
It just seemed like that's what I should do. I can't even remember a day when I sort of said I want to be a nurse. It was always seemed to be part of me. I've been a registered nurse for almost 35 years now and a union leader for 18 of those years. And in that time I've seen healthcare in this province go through so many changes.
40 years would have seemed like a lifetime to me when I started out in the union. The union was only a few years old.
I still laugh when I tell people that in 1971 I made $22 for an 8-hour shift. They just think I'm just making it up.
I know, for example, when I graduated nursing, I think my take-home salary was $225 every 2 weeks. Now, out of that $225, I could either have an apartment or I could have a car. I could not have both.
So when the union came and talk of it came into being, I was like so excited. I went to the founding meeting and I thought, oh my God, we're gonna get a life when all this is over. When I think of the '79 strike, the first thing crosses my mind is that we were frozen to death. The whole idea of strike was new and a little scary. Most of us were scared to death that we got legislated back to work. How are we going to behave? Are we going to lose our jobs? There was all this chatter. I think when the strike was over certainly was a defining moment because we realized for the first time as a group of professional nurses we stood up. Mentally, it made all of us feel a very strong unit. When we went back to work, we went back, okay, prepared to face whatever we had to face in our workplaces and knew that we had the backing of our union, which was so important.
The NLNU joined the Canadian Federation of Nurses Unions. Actually, it was the National Federation of Nurses Unions in 1981. We were one of the founding members, and it was a pivotal time, I think, for us, making the decision to join together with other provincial nurses unions to form a national organization.
I was the first president of the National Federation. It was really a busy time because I was the president of the National Federation, so a lot of travel. I was, you know, very pregnant, of course, when I was pregnant. Vice president here, provincially, president nationally. For the second term that I was elected president of the National Federation of Nurses Unions, Jessica, my daughter, who was 5 weeks old at the time, I had taken my mom with me to care for her while I was at the convention.
As part of our relationship and being members of the CFNU, we also joined the Canadian Labour Congress. And this was a big decision for our organization, joining the bigger house of labour in this country, you know, joining millions of other workers from outside of healthcare. Pretty special to make history, and that's what we were doing, was making history.
Well, when I walked through the door in April of '85, we were crammed into an older building down on Lamarchant Road. I think at the time we were probably in violation of every fire regulation that had ever been written.
I remember my office was on the top of the stairs on the 3rd floor. Apparently it was an old bathroom, someone told me at one point.
The building we were in was substandard and nowhere near what was representative of us as a professional union.
It was really hot in the building and even hotter as you went to the 3rd floor.
Karen Olford, who was the Secretary-Treasurer at that time, brought this huge recommendation to the delegates at convention that they wanted to build a new building.
Walking into the new location for the first time, it was just like excitement.
And I remember all of us, giggling and laughing and talking about the times that John, Vivian, our executive director, of course, brought us over from Lamarchant Road to show us each and every phase of when the building would be completed.
I was very fortunate that at last convention we were able to say that our mortgage was paid in full.
First, when I was hired at the Nurses Union, the provincial president was Jeanette Andrews. Jeanette was fabulous to work with. The next president I worked with was Jo Marie Aylward. She took over from Jeanette Andrews.
I really looked up to Jo Marie. I thought she was a fabulous leader.
It doesn't matter that you live in Newfoundland. You should not expect any less quality care than anywhere else in this country.
And when I had the opportunity to run as president, and I wondered how I could ever fill her footsteps. But she believed in me, and I said, well, I'll take a chance. And I did. The 1999 strike was a real turning point for me and as a leader, and also for our organization.
I remember the night before we went on strike, and I walked out through the hospital doors, and it killed me because it wasn't in my heart or soul to not go back the next day to do what I was supposed to do.
My members were so committed and so solid from one end of this province to another in what we were doing, in believing that we had no choice, that we had to do this for ourselves, and just as importantly for our patients.
We're the nurses of Newfoundland! We're the nurses of Newfoundland!
Our provincial vice president at the time wanted to stay on site. So I remember bringing in a blow-up bed.
Our dear departed Mary Prideaux, and I helped her inflate a mattress on the floor so that she'd have somewhere to sleep. And we pumped and we pumped and we pumped, but we got that mattress done.
We firmly, and our members firmly, believed in what we were fighting for. And you could see that commitment in their faces, in what they did, what they said, in the rallies that we had at Confederation Building. It was devastating when government legislated us back to work on April 1st, 1999.
Many felt that the strike had been a failure. We did not. Premier Brian Tobin, who was the premier who legislated us back, in his book, there's a statement there that his mother had told him never to pick a fight with registered nurses. Minister Chuck Fury, he said something to the effect of, we ended up giving them everything that they wanted. We just didn't have the guts to do it when they were on the street.
2008 and 2009 were, I think, two of the most empowering, satisfying years that I spent as president of the organization.
The person who we were up against, essentially, was Premier Danny Williams, and very capable.
The president of the Nurses Union make a statement that basically said that her action was going to place significant pressure on the healthcare system. So that's the gratitude and that's the thanks that this government gets.
Very colorful, often shot from his hip, and you know, oftentimes you didn't know what was coming next. When the convention in 2008, we stood in front of our membership. We told them what we were going to do.
Okay, I can't help it. Some of you will remember this chant. No power like the power of the nurses, and the power of the nurses won't stop. Hey, there ain't no power like the power of the nurses, and the power of the nurses won't stop. Hey!
The morning of May 20th at 5 o'clock in the morning, or the wee hours in the morning, whatever it was, when we knew we had a deal, it was the most exhilarating moment for me of achieving what we wanted to achieve, you know, within hours of a strike, but without having a strike.
I know Randy Sims the next morning in his show said that government blinked first, and they certainly did.
Oh, well, everybody was highly relieved, of course, and I was wondering what I was going to do with these really nice picket signs I had made with good slogans. My slogans always ended up on TV. I was always proud of that.
I think in the last 15, 20 years, we've recognized to a greater degree the importance of communication and two-way communication. When the organization started in 1974, communication was by telephone and by letter. And we recognized in the late 80s and early 90s that communication needed to be more than that.
Us, like younger generation, become more involved and know information quick and to the point through Facebook, through my NLNU, through Twitter. All of these things are accessible all the time.
We also knew that part of becoming visible in a complex healthcare system was about how we look. We needed to have people shift from nurse to registered nurse.
The initiation of the Clarity Project approximately 3 years ago, I just sat there thinking to myself how visionary we are as an organization to be projecting out in the long term this huge, huge project.
I think the visibility of the RNs, you know, which is the Clarity Project, and understanding what the role of the RN is monumental right now.
Debbie is an extraordinary leader. She has brought this organization to such a higher level as a labor organization.
It's been an experience. It's been such an amazing journey because this organization is what it is because of the members.
Our members go into the profession, you know, because they give a darn.
When I look back and reflect on the Nurses Union over the last 4 years, we certainly have made leaps and bounds.
When you mention the Nurses Union, there's always shoulders are up and head is high.
I'm so proud to be a member of Newfoundland Labrador Nurses Union.
Where we've come over 40 years, I think, yes, I'm very happy with where we've come. I'm happy where we are right now particularly.
We look after each other to help nurses and ultimately our patients, and that's really what it's all about.
At the end of the day, our organization now, we're celebrating 40 years of a union that has only gotten stronger by the minute, by the moment, by the day. And if nothing else comes from this, you all can look at each other and say, you know what, you're a registered nurse, I'm a registered nurse, and you can't get any better than that.